Hey, wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads. My name is Anthony,
And my name is Eric.
and we are the Board Game Dads back today to present to you our top 10 favorite games from 2022. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It is a brand new year, and it was quite the year of gaming last year. We're going to talk about 10 of our favorites. We tried to not tell each other what our list was,
Right.
which is hard because we share slides, but we tried our best not to look while we were putting our own pictures in. So,
I didn't look at any of them.
okay.
I started putting some slides up on the wrong one, and I saw a couple of those, but they didn't come out this year or last year. So yeah, I don't know any of them. I have an idea. I think there's going to be a couple crossovers.
Oh yeah, I think there should be.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like 2 to 3, maybe
I
4.
agree.
Probably 3. We'll see.
I agree.
All right, but without further ado, we're going to jump right in here. Unless there's anything else you want to chat about before we get to our number 10s.
I got nothing.
All right, well, let's just get right into this here.
Okay.
Eric's going to kick us off with his number 10 game, which is
Vagrant. So all right. So I have only gotten this to the table once. We've played it a few times, but we only actually put it away one time.
hmm,
So that's why it's number 10. We really like it, but there's still a lot more to learn and go through and kind of experiment with. But anyway, this was designed by Matt Carter, Justin Gibbs, and Kyle Rowan, and published by Word Miniatures. Plays 2 to 4 from 45 minutes to 120 minutes based on the different scenario that you're playing or player count,
right.
and ages 14 and up. And this is a cooperative campaign style action point allowance, which, hold on, let me just pause right here, because if you're watching this video and you don't know anything about the kind of games that I like 2-player games, games that play well with two, really like cooperative, and action point allowance is kind of a favorite mechanism of mine. So this is definitely right down my alley. So I'm a
Sure.
little biased that I think I'm going to like this one. That's why it did make the list. Um, anyway, so it has it has dice rolling to resolve actions, which I don't always love in a game, but there's ways to mitigate that. Um, you're going to be after each scenario or whatever they're called in this, you can earn skills or junk cards, and then you'll carry them on throughout the rest of the campaign. All the scenarios are different. They have different haints, and the haints, which are just ghosts, but they want to call them haints. They all act differently, so maybe they'll run away or they'll come right at you and try to attack. And so you don't know really what you're doing, and there's different things to search for. And you're kind of exploring this train car with this artwork straight out of like the 1920s Steamboat Willie type cartoons, and it's really fun. There are certain let me just real quick. I have one knock on the game. There's one part where when you play a skill card, you can't play that same skill card on the following turn, and there's no way really to remember that unless you tap it, but it doesn't tell you to do that,
Mm,
and so it's kind of rough to remember that, but that's a very, very minor gripe.
okay.
Also, and I know I've spoken about this game before, the rule book is fine, but just based upon the type of game this is, where each scenario, different things are going to be happening, there's going to be different rules, different things are going to act differently than they did in the last game.
Mm,
There's a very large margin of error, at least in the games that I've played. So there's certain things where we'll play it the same way we just played it, and then we'll go back, and while we're playing the second game, we're like, oh wait, that's not what we do. Now we do something different when this happens.
okay. Yeah.
And so it can be a little tough to remember a lot of that stuff unless you're playing it all the time and you really, delve deep into this game. But can't wait to get this one back to the table. Think it's going to be really cool, especially around Halloween. Uh, but we're going to get this one back soon.
What is a haint? Is that a made up word? I've never heard that word
I
before.
think it's what ghosts were called back in like the 20s
Wow.
and
Okay.
maybe the 30s and 40s. I know I've heard a couple of like 50s rock and roll songs that are like, macabre kind of thing about ghosts that refer to Haints. And
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard only good things about that game. It looks pretty cool. I think I would definitely check that out. Is it an overarching story? Like, do the scenarios connect at all, or not to your knowledge?
I think so. So you're you're kind of like lost. You don't really know why you're on the train, and
Mm,
you're trying to figure out what's going on. But like there's a bunch of ghosts and stuff. So like something went down.
mm,
You figure it out by the end.
got it.
Yep.
Cool. All right, my number 10 is a game that we did talk about on a Kickstarter Day video a few months back, and that is Keystone North America. This one is from Rose Gauntlet Games. Designer is Jeffrey Joyce and Isaac Vega. Art by Iram Erbieler and Alyssa Minold and Yan Tamba. Plays 1 to 4, anywhere from 40 to 90 minutes, and they say ages 10 and up. But this definitely scratches an itch. I love my nature themed games. I know you do as well.
Hmm.
And this one is definitely a looker. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. You're creating this ecosystem on your own player board. If you match up certain animals that have the same kind of symbol next to other ones that you place, you'll get some synergy tokens. There's a beautiful neoprene playmat here, and again, this is the Kickstarter version. I did go all in on this one. I don't
Nice.
often do, but every once in a while, pull the trigger on that. And it's one of those games where you're going to pick from a pool of cards, and the farther down you do, it's going to kind of like cost you more later on, or you'll get some bonuses and things like that. And there's a special abilities you can do a few times. They'll get exhausted, and you can refresh them as well. But the whole premise is really you're just trying to make as much synergy as you can on your grid. So you got a 4x4 grid, and you're adding these cards in, and they all have different symbols on them about where the animals reside and what kind of habitat they are. And the more symbols you can match up, the better. And that's basically it. It's not like it's not a new mechanic or anything like that. It's not a groundbreaking game by any means, which I guess maybe is why it's my number 10. But for having a nature themed game like this with this beautiful artwork, and it's pretty easy to get out to the table and easy to teach, definitely was on my radar from the start, and I look
Uh,
forward to seeing what else Rose Gauntlet has coming from this one.
and those deluxe components don't hurt, bro.
Yeah, of course. For sure, for sure. Yeah, like I said, I don't often go all in on stuff. I mean, if you have disposable income, more power to you, but every once in a while, you gotta pull the trigger and go for it all.
Hey, sometimes it looks like it's worth it, and sometimes it is.
Yeah, this one's beautiful. So that's my number 10, Keystone North America, which hopefully means there will be other Keystone games, South America, Asia, etc. We'll
All right.
see.
So my number 10, before we bring up the slide, I only played this game once.
You're number 9.
My number 9, right? My number 9. I only played this game one time, um, and I feel like it's probably going to be a crossover with you. Do you have a guess at what it might be?
It's probably The Spill.
It's The Spill. So we played this that one time, and so this was designed by Andy Kim, published by Smirk and Dagger Games. It plays 1 to 4. It's over in about 50 to 60 minutes, and it plays ages 14 and up. This is a cooperative game with a big plastic oil rig dice tower gimmick in the middle,
Mhm.
and you got variable player powers. And the core mechanism of this is I don't want to just compare it to Pandemic, that thing, but it's like a random enemy generator, and then you have to cooperatively do damage control.
Yeah.
So something happens, you don't know where it's going to happen, you don't know what it's going to, and then okay, and then it's your turn, and then you got to go try to hopefully it's close and you can get that. And I love this. This is a favorite mechanism of mine. So while I only played this one time, I'm gonna get it. I know this style of game. I liked it a lot, and it has to do with cleaning oil out of the ocean. That's a theme that I absolutely love. So Yeah, number
Yeah,
9.
that's a unique theme for sure. I don't know any other games that do that.
Yeah, and for this, it must have left quite an impression after one play, bro. This this was a good one.
I knew you were gonna like it. I knew you were gonna
Yeah.
like it for all the reasons you just said. That's your style for sure. Excellent pick.
And now with some more plays, that might make it up the list.
Good point. And I will say there are many different ways to change up the game a little
Hmm.
bit. I mean, you're doing the same thing, but the objectives, there's different cards that have different objectives on it each game, so you can win in a different way. And on top of that, you can even adjust like how much oil comes out to
Hmm.
increase the difficulty level even further. So it's got a lot of replayability
One
for
thing
sure.
one thing that I do remember from that game is there's no stopping the oil. It's it's coming.
Hmm.
You can put some Band-Aids on it, but it's just gonna come out somewhere else. Just get what you gotta do done
Yeah,
and mitigate the oil a little bit.
get plenty of Dawn to wash off those
Yeah.
animals.
Save the animals, save the animals.
Excellent. All right. Well, my number 9 is another theme, obviously, that I enjoy very much, and that's anything with plant life in it. This is Verdant from AEG. This was basically title number 3 in a kind of a trilogy there that they did. This one's designed by Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, Aaron Mesburn, Kevin Russ, and Sean Stankiewicz, with art by the very talented Beth Sobel. It plays 1 to 5 in about 30, 45 minutes, ages 10 and up. So, if you're familiar with Cascadia at all, which last year was my number 1 game from 2021, this has a very similar setup in that you're drafting cards and tokens from the center. The big difference here is that there's two different kinds of cards you can take. There's plants and there's rooms. When you draft these and you start to build them in your grid, you have to do so in an alternating pattern. So it's going to go room, plant, etc. And basically, you're trying to get as many points as you can, but you're ideally trying to match the plants with their desired sunlight conditions, which are on the room cards. And that's how you add verdancy to these plants. And each one of these plants has like a verdancy threshold, and once you reach that, that's how you're going to get the points for that plants. And then there's a bunch of other stuff you can do. You have these green thumbs that are going to let you kind of manipulate the market choice of what you're taking. There's also these little tokens that can go on the rooms that'll do different stuff for you depending on what they are. Some of them are actually like tools that you can use to do some stuff to alter things. But there's also just like furniture and like even like pets and stuff like that that'll basically just kind of add points to the end of the game. So, at the end of the game, you're gonna get points for all the plants that you grew all the way and any color matches that you have with your little furniture pieces inside your rooms and things like that. And you even get a couple of like goal cards that you're looking to score as well. But I love anything with a grid. I love this central, draft of taking a token and a card and being able to kind of switch it up if you have the resources to do that. And it's about houseplants, and it's just cozy. I just like the theme. So that's my number 9. That's Verdant. We talked about this also on a Kickstarter video, I believe.
Yep. All right. My number 8, right? We're on 8
Yes,
now.
sir.
Is a game called Wild Serengeti. This was another Kickstarter,
Mhm.
and this one was designed by Gunho Kim, published by Bad Comet. Plays 1 to 4 players, 45 to 120 minutes, and ages 14 and up. And this is a pattern building, action drafting game with some set collection and end game bonus scoring, like that style of I guess Euro.
That's a great recipe.
Yeah. You try to take pictures of animals in their different habitats, whether you need them next to a specific animal or in a line in a specific order. And these are all represented by these scoring cards that you can get on your turn. So on your turn, you can either add an animal, and there's a whole bunch of different animal meeples, or you can move an animal up to 3 spaces, or you can take 2 animals and swap them. And then once you do your one action, if you complete a card or two, and you're like, oh, now the lion is in the grass and he's next to the alligator,
Hmm.
you get to score that card. You get whatever points or other stuff it might give you. And it's a really cool game. You know, I'm a sucker for animal meeples.
These are
And
gorgeous.
oh my god, there's so many really cool looking animal meeples. And yeah, I we've played this game a number of times. It can be a bit analysis paralysis inducing,
Okay.
specifically towards the end, but you know, there's a lot of games where in the last round or two you're like, all right, hold up, I need a couple of minutes here, and
Right.
it's totally reasonable.
Because
And
you know there's like an ideal move out there.
right, right, and you totally expect that in the last round or two.
Right.
And this game isn't worse. It's it's not bad. It's there. There is that AP element to the game, but I like this one. That's because I really don't enjoy a lot of the games where there's just too much going on, and every turn I have to find that best move.
Right. Right.
Wait, way too long. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's Wild Serengeti, man. This is a really cool one, and I think these guys did another one. I don't know if we backed that. I think my wife might have backed that Amazonia something or other.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking
And
about.
it was one of those. They came out with this game. We like it, or we love it. We really love the animal meeples. So again, a lot of this might be a little bit biased because we love animal meeples. So we definitely considered, if not already backed, that other one.
Nice. Yeah, those
Yep.
are really pretty. I mean,
Yep.
just by having two colors on the meeple makes them look so much better. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, spoiler alert: this one is not. I haven't played this game, but I really, really want to. This one is very intriguing to me. All right, but on to something that I have played. So my number 8 is a beast. This is the only game on my list, I believe, that I do not own. But we actually have mentioned this briefly in a previous video. This is Wonderland's War. This one is from Druid City Games, designer Tim and Ben Eisner, Ian Moss, art by Manny Tremble. It's placed 2 to 5, anywhere from 45 to 125 minutes, and they say ages 13 and up. So you've got asymmetrical powers here. Everyone's playing the leader of a faction in Wonderland. When I played this game, I was Alice, and basically, there's really two phases to the game. You're going to do some drafting around that tea party table there, and you're going to be moving around and taking some cards, which are going to give you all kinds of resources and let you get some allies to draft into your kind of army and things like that. And then after that, all the drafting is done. You're going to do the battle, which is basically where you're pulling tokens out of a bag. So this game has gotten compared a lot to Quacks of Quedlinburg for that reason, where you're going to be kind of adding stuff to your bag as the game goes
Hmm.
along. And then when it's time to fight, whoever the factions are that are there, could be two or three, even four different people in the same spot. You're going to pull something out of your bag, reveal it, and basically resolve whatever it does there. The more like followers or kind of like sort of foot soldiers you have in that region, the better, because there's also madness tokens that you pull out. Those are bad, obviously, and then you're gonna lose some clout in that area. So it's like a drafting thing and then an area control kind of thing. It's it's definitely long, and that's been the complaint that I've heard about this game. But it was fun. Obviously, I wouldn't put it on my list if it wasn't. What was cool about Alice is her special ability was she went in the opposite direction around this table for drafting, which was pretty fun because you like can skip over some stuff but not go back. But since I was going the other way, I kind of had first dibs at some stuff that other people would have to like skip a bunch of spots to get to. It was interesting. Really cool components, and again, this was the Kickstarter deluxe edition that Chris and Ryan have together. So I got to enjoy that. That's Wonderland's War, my number 8 from last year.
I wonder how the two-player draft or the with Alice and her special going backwards in the turn order.
Mm,
How would that work in two-player? You just don't really use her.
I don't know. There might be something specific about that. I
Hmm.
I don't I I think this game probably shines at 3 or
Okay.
4. I don't know if I would enjoy it at 2. I think it's weird to have two-player only game of
Be
this.
shorter.
It would. I mean, that's why the range of the time is so long, right? I think it took us about 3 hours to play, which is a long time. We played a four-player
Yeah.
game, and yeah, it was definitely long, but it was fun. It
Nice.
was fun. All right, on to lucky number 7.
All right, my number 7 is a game called Dead Reckoning, and
Mm.
this is designed by John D. Clare,
Mhm.
published by AEG. Plays 1 to 4 in 90 to 150 minutes, and ages 14 and up.
That's a big range too.
Yeah, that's a big range. I'm not really down with that 150 mark, but like I said, two-player games, we're much closer to that 90-minute range, so
Right.
it's okay. So this is both competitive or cooperative. You can play it either way. We've only played it cooperatively. We have not played it competitively. I would not have backed this if it did not include a cooperative version or variant.
Okay.
But this is a card crafting, deck building, exploration game with some area control and some combat. And the combat is you had a bunch of different cubes of different colors, and you drop them in this cube tower. And wherever the cubes land, that's you either loot this or you win. You get all these extra points in the attack, and you win the attack, and then you get extra loot, and that's it. So you want to put more cubes than the guy you're attacking. It's a really cool game, and this is a big game. This is a big table presence, and this is not the kind of game that we can get out to the table easily in our household. But I love it, and they had to put out that specific, two-player variant for us to, or two-player cooperative variant, because it's the only way you can play it cooperatively is two-player,
Mm.
and you have to play against two AI ships.
Okay.
So, you're going around, and instead of playing it and just ignoring the combat aspect because, we don't really want to attack each other. That's not, like we don't really like take that in games. You actually still do that. You attack the AI ships. You still get to do all the stuff that you would normally do, but still play it in, as Rado would describe, a Care Bear way. So like nobody's getting,
Yeah.
like we're playing cooperatively. It's not like we're going out there, be like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna come over here and destroy you with my 6 cannons, and like, all right, like I don't like that. That's not my jam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
so my number
probably
7,
not a
Dead
lot of
Reckoning.
pirate themed co-op games, I would imagine.
Not that I can
That's not
think
really
of.
like the
Hmm.
style of when you think of the piracy thing.
Yeah,
Cool. All right, moving on. My number 7 is a
wait.
theme.
Dead
Go.
Men Tell
Sorry.
No Tales is a cooperative zombie pirate kind of theme.
Oh, is that with the ship on fire and stuff like
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. My number 7 is also about houseplants. So this one is Planted. Now, Planted is from Buffalo Games and Puzzles. Designer here is Phil Walker Harding. Art by Hannah Bailey. This one's 1 to 5 players, about 20, 30 minutes, ages 10 and up. You're also going to be drafting cards in this one, similar to Verdant, but in a different way. Because besides that, you're getting some like decorations for your place and some tools that are going to help you with the plants. This is one of those games where you're going to draft from a hand of cards and then pass those cards to another player, and everyone's going to reveal at the same time. And you're basically just doing that until you finish all those, and then you're going to get points at the end of the game for things like the decorations that you have based on certain scoring, uh, guidelines, resources, tools give you extra stuff. If you don't want to keep the card for what it is, like if you drafted, say, a sunlight resource, but you have a lot of sunlight already, instead of using the card for what it is, you can take a plant from the nursery area, and at the end of the initial draft, when you're done passing the cards around, you're going to pay resources to try to feed as many of your plants as you can, and then you'll add these kind of like tokens on them to the growth to show that they've grown. And then anything that's left over, if you have some extra resources, you can always put them in this kind of side. I think they call it a propagation jar, which just get you straight up points at the end of the game. This one has some really, really dope looking components. Some nice like translucent like water droplets and like
Yep.
sun tokens and things
Yep.
like that. It's
And it's
just
only
really cool.
30 bucks.
Yeah, this was a steal. I had known about this game, and we kind of bought it on a whim because we had gone on vacation and forgot to pack games. So I went to Target and bought 2 or 3 games, and this was one of them, and it was great. So yeah, again, I'm obviously, if you don't know by now, I'm a sucker for plant nature themed games, but it's amazing that we had 2 games about specifically about house plants
Mhm.
come out last year, and I love them both. And I kind of flip flopped on Verdant and Planted in their order on this list a couple times. Um, I put this a little bit higher because I felt like it was a little more unique. Like Verdant was very similar ish to Cascadia and Calico. Obviously, there's differences, but this was like a plant that was more of a standalone kind of feel to it. Um, I I don't
Yeah,
know. This might
I
be on your
I
list,
love
maybe not.
houseplants as well.
Mm,
I like planted more than verdant. Planted just missed my list.
okay, okay.
Was it just missed my honorable mention list. I don't even know if we're doing those, but it would have been number 13 because I had 2 honorable mentions.
Okay,
Um,
nice. Yeah, we could talk about some honorable mentions at the
yeah,
end.
we'll do them at the end because I don't know if there's gonna be any crossover.
Right,
I don't
right.
wanna. Okay. Alright, so, my number 6, this one could be crossover. We'll see. So my number 6 is Isle of Cats Explore and Draw.
Mhm.
So again, cats, animals, I love it. This is a roll and write. I love this game so much. Anyway, this is designed by Frank West, published by the City of Games, plays 1 to 6 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it plays ages 10 and up. This is a flip and write version of Isle of Cats. You get colored markers and dry erase boards, and you color stuff in, and you can draw little cats in whatever color, or you can just, kind of outline in the specific color, whatever you
Right,
want. But you're gonna you're gonna lay out a grid of these cards and 3 rows of 4 cards, and everybody gets to choose either one row or one column. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. And but everybody has access to the same card. So if you choose, the top row,
right.
the next person can also choose the top row.
Yeah, you're not taking the cards. You're just
Yeah,
using.
you're
You're just
just
using
using
them.
them, and then you write them all down. Everybody's like, "All right, it's everybody done? Use all the cards." Somebody could, use one of their powers where they use one card from each row instead. And one of my biggest gripes with Isle of Cats, the game, is that there's a lot of these special scoring cards that you could get at the end of the game 5 points, but then there's a handful where you can get at the end of the game 20 to 30 points.
Sure.
And if you don't get your hands on any of them, and somebody else does, and you don't even know, right? Because it was like the first card they drafted, you're kind of at a disadvantage, and it's tough to climb out of a hole where, like, at the end of the game, you're like, "Oh, I get 3 points for this card and 5 points for this card. That was a good one." Somebody else pulls out a card, they're like, "Oh, I get 2 points for each treasure," and they got like 10 of them out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh, yeah. So this game eliminates that. If that happens, you had that opportunity. You could have done that yourself.
Right, right, right,
That's
right.
on you and how you played the game. So, like, I can't feel like if I lose this, I can't feel like, oh, like it wasn't fair. I didn't have the same opportunities. I didn't get an extra basket on the first.
Yeah, I never
Whatever.
saw that card. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, right. Whatever complaint I'm going to come up with, to make me feel better about losing, you don't get it in this one. So, and it's got cats and
I'm assuming.
polyomino and rolling right, that or flipping right. That's
Right.
that's already stuff that I like. So that's, yeah,
I'm assuming you try to actually draw cats on your board, right? I'm not
I
just like
do.
box them. Yeah.
I do.
Does
Yep.
Melissa too?
No.
Mm.
Um, maybe she might draw like just a face and some ears,
I
but
feel
she
like,
doesn't. Like I try to make them fill in like the weirdest thing. Like I'll put the tail
yeah,
going up.
yeah,
This,
yeah.
yeah, I'll
Well,
do some weird stuff.
that's how the polyominoes look in the original game, right? They're in some
Yeah,
wacky positions to make them look that way.
I do that with goblins when we play cartographers too, and I
Oh
got to
yeah.
take somebody else's. And the tree, yeah, because trees and houses. I love that one. Putting sharks in all the lakes
Hmm,
because
hmm.
sharks are freshwater fish.
All right, my number six is indeed a crossover, and that is the spill.
Mm-hmm.
So you already mentioned all the great the information and stuff like that. I'm not going to repeat that, and I'm not going to belabor it. But man, what a gimmick with this dice tower! You drop these black dice in, and they fall into one of four quadrants, and that's where the oil is. And again, like you said, cooperative action point allowance. You have a special character. You're trying to rescue animals that are, got oil on them. Try to save them. You can lose them.
Random enemy generator and cooperative damage control. That's what I'm calling it.
All right. I like it. Yeah, I know you were looking for a term
Yeah,
for that.
yeah. My brother suggested whack-a-mole, right? Like doesn't matter what you do, you stop
Oh
this
yeah,
and so that was a good one too. So I wanna shout out for that. But
whack a
I'm
mole.
going with random enemy generation and and cooperative damage control.
Nice,
It just
nice.
rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. The only thing, and this is not really a complaint, I'll just because some people don't like this, but if you play this game, it plays 2 to 4, right, or 1 to 4. However many people you have, you're always going to play with four characters, which some people may not like, right? If you only have
Right.
2 people and you have to worry about controlling two different characters, that's not everybody's cup of tea. But they're not like crazy complicated that you can't figure it out. But that's the spill. My number six. Really, really enjoyed this game, and I'm so glad that you liked it too. I mean, I knew that you guys would,
Hmm.
but it makes me happy whenever I share a game with
Yeah.
someone and then they add it to their collection.
For the record, playing
Yeah.
two characters, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah.
For the amount of two-player games that we play, like you gotta draw the line somewhere. So like,
Sure.
I'm totally fine with that. All right, my number five,
5.
Flamecraft. All right, so this one I also suspect will be later on showing up on this list.
Hmm.
This was designed by Manny Vega, published by Cardboard Alchemy, plays 1 to 5 players in 60 minutes and plays ages 10 and up. And at its core, this is a competitive hand management and worker placement card game. You have there's 6 shops out, and that number might change or will change as you play through. And you have 1 worker, and you get to do one of 2 actions. You can either gather, where you're going to gain resources from the shop and play a dragon card there, and then use a dragon power, or you can use the resources you've already accumulated to score a card. And then whatever shop that card's associated with, you're going to get to play a bunch of dragon powers there. Um, it's a really simple game. The artwork is cute. I know a lot of people are gaga over the artwork. I don't know why. I think it's fine. I think it's a little too cuddly,
Hmm.
um, but it's fine. We did talk about this game for Kickstarter Day, where I
Mhm.
said that we did not get the Kickstarter expansion. I am wrong. We did get the Kickstarter expansion. We got the gold coins and this nice roll-up mat, and the nice plastic minis and everything. And it's a great game.
I think the
Um,
mat is standard, isn't it?
I don't know. We got the Kickstarter version. I
I
would have
think
said
so.
that when I thought we got just the regular version, but yeah, I'm not sure. Now there is a problem that I will address. There's in the final turn of the game, the rules allow for the situation to happen where the player who went first, if they trigger the end round, they're going to end up still getting an extra turn, like a final turn. Whereas if the player that went second in a 3-player game triggers that final, all right, everybody gets one more round, and then everybody still gets an equal number of actions or rounds during the turn. But this seems like an oversight. I'm not really sure, but I did notice that that could happen. I
Mhm.
don't think it did. Um, but yeah, this one, Flamecraft. Like I said, I think we'll be talking about this one a little bit. So that's all I got to say about that one.
You never know.
Yeah.
All right, my number five coming up here is a game called 10 Penny Parks. Now, this is a game where you're going to be building a theme park. This one comes from Thunderworks Games, by the way. Designer is Nate Leinert, and art by the amazing Vincent Dutrait. Plays 1 to 4 in anywhere from 45 to 75 minutes, ages 14 and up. It's going to be 5 rounds, which the story is it's 5 months that you have to build your park. You're going to get income. You're going to be building these attractions, these cool rides, along with concession stands. So there's a lot of games that have this theme now, right? Where you're building a theme park of some
Right.
sort. But this one really, it just stood out to me because it's also worker placement, and it's also placing the polyomino shaped, rides and stuff on your board. But in addition to that, you're really developing from the ground up. Literally, like when you start your board, there's some trees, and one of the actions you have to take if you want to make room is you have to go to the arborist action and take these trees off your board. And if you ever get extra land, like you can add to your park, there's going to be trees on there that you got to take away. And that's just an extra thing that's like really thematic, right? Because that's kind of how this stuff works. There's also like a builder space where you're going to take to build all the attractions and stuff like that. You go to the banker to get some more money. There's a realtor that lets you expand your park, all that kind of stuff. There's also these different tracks that every player is going to be competing on. So when you build an attraction, you're going to get, depending on what the icons are on the attraction, there's these 3 tracks. There's, I believe it's Thrill. What is it? Thrill, Awe, and Joy. And along those tracks, there's going to be different bonuses as well. You'll get, more points at the end of the game if you're farther up on each of these tracks. But in addition to that, it's got this cool kind of rondelle thing where it has a carousel that you actually turn to different spots so that if you go to that spot again, it might be, a discount of $2 or something like that, or it might be free or something like that. So it's got a lot of cool, you know, pieces to play with, and it just looks great. The artwork is amazing. There's all kinds of cool like names for these rides and attractions and things like that, and it just looks really cool out of the table.
Yeah.
Um,
So not to interrupt you,
yeah, no,
but
go ahead.
to interrupt you, um, I've heard about this game. I haven't really heard that much. I haven't seen anything about it. This looks really cool. I mean, even just the fact that you have trees to take off your board,
Yeah,
like they really make the board look cooler. The artwork, it kind of looks like vintage postcard artwork.
exactly.
Even this little 3D carousel in the middle of the board, it's probably useless, but that's cool. I love when they do stuff like that, like the giant tree in Everdale that has like no purpose, but we use it every time we play. We even got the wooden one so that it'll
Right,
last
right,
longer.
right, right.
And I love the extra mile. And yeah, this one looks really cool. I want to get this one give this one a chance. How long did you say this one plays in?
45 to 75 minutes.
Okay.
So I mean, call it an hour, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's 10 Penny Parks. The artwork is really good. Like it's definitely that postcard or like even like that sideshow kind of like poster art. It just yeah, it's really cool.
Yep.
That's my number five.
All right, so moving on to number four. My number four is Endless Winter Paleo Americans.
Talked about this
This,
too.
we sure did. So this is designed by Stan Kordomsky, published by Fantasia Games, plays 1 to 4 in 60 to 120 minutes. I don't know about six, maybe at one player. And plays ages 12 and up. This is a Euro style game with worker placement and deck building and area influence and set collection and hand management and a bunch of other little mechanisms as well. And So really, there's four main actions that you do on your turn. You just choose one of them, and you get to do the top action, which you can do as many times as you have the resources that allows you to do. You get to do the middle action just once, and then if you were the first person there, you also get the bottom bonus action. And you do one of these, and you're either gonna put some guy out on the area influence board, or you're going to go to this hunting track and you're going to hunt some animals, or you're going to buy one of these cards over in the other section of the board, or then you're going to I forget what the other one is. Probably some other scoring track. Oh yeah, there's another one where you go up the scoring track, and there's a lot going on in this game. It takes up a lot of table space,
Hmm.
and it's awesome, and we love it so much. And I can't even say that. Well, it's based in the snow. The board's all got like snow background, and that's why I love it so much. It's just a really cool game. Everything flows. Everything seems like, oh, that makes sense. And you got to reread and maybe remember this stuff because there's just a lot going on. But once you get it, you're like, well, okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to have to go back and reread that because that makes perfect sense when
Right, right.
when you see that symbol, it means it. And can't wait to get this one to the table again, man. Endless Winter, and this one came with like two expansions that we haven't even touched yet,
Mm,
but we will. And the expansions, they look cool too. Three
yeah,
three expansions actually. I don't know. Came with a whole bunch of stuff.
I
I don't
think
know what I was
yeah, you said
thinking
there were
when I
three or
backed this
four.
thing, but I
Oh
backed all
man.
of it. Yeah.
Like you said, sometimes you gotta go all the way.
Yep.
But I mean, look at how much you love it, so it was definitely
Number
worth it.
4.
Number 4. All right, my number 4 is
Now,
another.
for the record,
Go
number
ahead.
4, with the possibility of going up, the more we get this one played, it could rise, can make the top 10 of all time, which we haven't done.
Yeah, we have not. We have not. All right, my number 4 is from a couple of familiar designers, Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, and that is Three Sisters.
I did see this slide.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't miss that cover.
Nope.
This one is from 25th Century Games and also Motor City Gameworks, which is those two guys kind of have their own publishing thing now, and another one with art by Beth Sobel. This one plays 1 to 4 in anywhere from a half hour to an hour, ages 14 and up. So this is another one of the what they're calling loaded roll and writes. So some really hefty score sheets here. Think Fleet the dice game, same designers, very similar in terms of the way that the sheets look. This one, however, is all about gardening, and it also has a little bit of a rondelle as well. You're going to roll these dice, put them around this little action area, and then you're going to choose dice from that board to plant some stuff in your garden, and also do whatever the rondelle action is on that space. And similar to a lot of roll and writes, there's going to be one die left at the end that all players get to use. But there are so many things you can do in this game. I'm definitely not going through all of them. Suffice to say that there's all kinds of crops you can water and grow. There are fruit orchards. There are flowers that do stuff. There's a shed that does all these crazy things. There's like you can make like a casserole dish. Just like all kinds of stuff going on here. It's so much fun. There's so many cool combinations that can happen. Your turn can last so long sometimes because you just can kind of keep like pinballing this and that, and you get this and this that. And I love that. It's very satisfying when that happens. I can't get enough of these types of games. I love Fleet the dice game too. It's one of our favorites. This one, of course, and we talked about Kickstarter. Very soon, I believe at the end of January, should be receiving the next one in this
Ooh.
set, which is the Motor City one, all about
All
making
right.
cars. So very, very, very much looking forward to that.
Nice.
But yeah, if you're interested in rolling rights at all and you kind of want to take like the next step, definitely go for Three Sisters, especially if you
Yeah.
like the gardening theme.
I had never heard of the term "loaded roll and write" that I'm aware of, at least. But that's a good term because it almost seems like it's like a fake roll and write, right? Like I know it is, but you're like, oh, it's roll and write. Like, sure, let's play. And then you're looking at it and you're like, what?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
where do I? How much? Wait, there's two sheets. What?
Yeah, yeah, a lot
Great
going
game
on.
though.
But they designed it so well that for as complicated as it looks, kind of what you were saying about Paleo Americans, it just starts to make sense after a while, and things just kind of flow, and you just kind of get it.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing I will say quickly is that what they seem to have added in this game, as opposed to Fleet the Dice game, was specifically a little section on your scoreboard, on your score sheets, to kind of keep track of those combination things.
Hmm.
Like if you forget, like you go up in your income and you get this special bonus space. Let me write that down before I forget because I'm going to get to it later. So
Got it.
I would believe that they would have that on the next game as well, but we'll see. That's
Nice.
my number four. It's
All
top
right.
three. Top three.
Number three. All right. So my number three is Creature Comforts. I know we've spoken about this game a couple of times. This was designed by Roberta Taylor. This was published by Kids Table Board Gaming, which at this point is one of those publishers that they can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Plays 1 to 5, 45 minutes, ages 8 and up. This is a worker placement game with some set collection and some dice rolling, but it's different. There's there's different areas on the board where you're going to put your workers, but all these different areas are going to require specific numbers and an amount of dice. But you haven't rolled your workers yet, so you put your workers out. You have two family dice that are on your whatever color you are, and you roll them. So two of the dice rolls that you have, and then you put all your workers out, trying to figure out like what you're going to hopefully be able to do. And then whoever's the first player for that turn rolls these four white dice. And now these are communal dice. Everybody's going to get to use them. So the first player goes and they use all the dice and they do all their stuff. And if their workers can't do anything because they put them in the wrong spot and they didn't roll that number, that sucks. But at least they get like this little band-aid token or something that'll allow them to adjust the die by one or two later on. So like you're still getting something. You're not just like out of luck.
Okay.
And so this game's got cute little animals, anthropomorphic animals, and they're cute, and they got little comfort cards that you can buy for the set collection, and they have things like ice skates and board games and video games and a TV, and it's just like it sounds so stupid being like, oh, it's just a very comforting game, but it is. It feels cozy. It's cute. It's it like that cottage in the woods, and you just kind of you're not pressed for time and trying to rush and get everybody. Oh, this person took my spot.
Right, right, right.
I love it. Again, I'm biased. It's kids table board gaming and it's anthropomorphic animals, and so like obviously I'm gonna love this game. If it was cooperative, it'd probably be my number one game.
Yeah,
But
really.
yeah, that's Creature Comforts.
You should rank all of your kids table board gaming games. I'd be curious. You think this is your favorite? I know you like Wreck
Yeah,
Raiders a lot too.
yeah, this is my favorite.
Okay.
Wreck Raiders number two. Then probably Facilis. We'd have to play Power Plant some more because we only played that a couple times. We had to play that just to make sure, or just to see if it was going to be on this list.
Okay, yeah, that's the newest one,
Yeah,
right?
that one just came out.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. My number three is a crossover,
Aha! That's our
and it's
second
Flamecraft.
crossover.
That's right. Yeah, Flamecraft and the Spill, right?
I
Those
think
are our
that's
two.
it. Based on a
I think
comment you
so
made
too.
earlier, it doesn't seem like one game that I think you're going to have on is on your list.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right.
But yeah, you obviously mentioned a lot about this already, so I'm gonna add too much to it. But it's gorgeous looking, and yes, I was kind of like coyly saying it. The regular version, which I have, I don't have the Kickstarter. It does still come with the rolled out mat, the play mat, which is pretty cool. But yeah, cool little worker placement action, getting some dragon abilities, casting some spells to get some bonus points here and there. And it's cool because of the shops, you add more shops as the game goes on, right?
Right.
Which is pretty cool. The little market kind of grows. And the market, the little shops all have cool like punny kind of names. So that's
Yeah, they do.
that's definitely entertaining as well.
I did want to actually point out a couple other things that I didn't mention earlier. based on what you just said, also the dragons, some of the dragons have really cool names too.
Yes.
Now there's going to be a bunch of one type of dragon, and they're all going to be similar but different artwork. They're all going to be like its own unique type of that style dragon, which
Hmm.
is really cool, but they all do the same thing. So they could kind of do an expansion where each one of these dragons does something a little bit different,
Mm.
really make the game different and more confusing, but I'm sure a lot of people would love it. But yeah, that I did like that. There's one other thing is that um, there's these bonus scoring cards that you can only really get by playing a dragon on certain of these locations, and
Okay.
once those are all filled up, that's it. You're not getting any more bonus cards. And if you don't realize that early on, because we played last week again, and I got like 4 or 5 or 6 of them, like in early on, and by the end of the game, I had like 5 or 6. Melissa had 2,
Oh.
and yeah, so they don't always come back out. They if you don't get one of like those first 6 that are starting out there, or at least 2 or 3 of them, you might be at a disadvantage.
Hmm. Interesting.
But
Yeah, I can't wait to play this more. Because you're not going to see all the shops in every game either, which is cool.
you see a lot of them though.
Yeah, that's true. Because every time you get to a
Every time you
third,
fill one up, yep,
right, right,
a
right, then
third
you have a new one.
dragon.
All right, we're at the number twos.
Number 2. All right, my number 2 is a game that I think either you forgot about or you just didn't like as much as I did, clearly, it's number 2. And this is Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
I didn't forget about it. It
Okay,
pretty much is like it was definitely like 11 or 12.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you mentioned something earlier where you're like, "Oh, there's no other game on my list that I don't own." And I was like, "Oh, I guess he doesn't. I guess he didn't like this one." Anyway, this is designed by Alexander Ortloff and published by Z-Man Games. It plays 1 to 5 players in 60 minutes, ages 14 and up. This is a cooperative um, cooperative damage control and random enemy generation. Pandemic, right?
Hmm.
Style gameplay. Now the pandemic specific part where it has that other mechanism where you're shuffling through this set of card location cards, and every once in a while when this one thing happens, you take all the cards that are already like these hot zones, you shuffle them up and you put them on top of the deck, so they're going to
Hmm.
keep coming out. That's specific to this game. That's why I don't like calling that other mechanism pandemic, if that makes sense.
Got it.
But I love the pandemic mechanism. So this is just a Star Wars version of it. They add some villain cards. It changes a couple of things here and there. The variable player powers that you start off with are awesome. They're not your typical
Hmm.
pandemic things. They're every one of them is like, wow, that's a really good one. Oh, but mine's really good too. Like you just don't know which one you want to be. It doesn't matter. And it's Star Wars.
Hmm.
How can you go wrong with pandemic, which is already a known classic game, great game, and Star Wars, which I love. I guess if you don't love Star Wars, then this might not be the pandemic for you.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah, I think there's like 4 different villains that you can fight against, and each one
Hmm.
has like 6 cards, and you cycle through them. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. We haven't gotten it played as much as we would like, but it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one too, for
Yeah,
sure.
I guess
And
not as much as me though.
well, no, I guess not. But uh,
Pandemic. No, no, I'm sorry. That's not Pandemic. Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
all right, my numero dos is an abstract strategy game called Evergreen. Now, what's interesting about this is it's from the same designer as Photosynthesis. This one comes from Horrible Guild. The designer is Halmar Hak, art by Wenji Jang. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Plays 1 to 4, 45 minutes, ages 8 and up. It's interesting to me that it's the same designer because we've talked about photosynthesis a lot on this channel, and you and I both have kind of the same gripe with it in
That's
that
mean.
it's mean, especially at a two-player count. What I love about Evergreen is it has a very similar mechanic with like gathering sunlight and trees casting shadows behind them, which might not give light to things that are behind them, but you are playing on your own board. So if you're going to have that happen, it's your own damn fault. But that's what I thought was interesting. The same designer as photosynthesis, but I like this one so much more. And I think it really, for me personally, I think it replaces photosynthesis in my collection. You're going to be getting these different biome cards out to draft. And then whatever ones do not get chosen, because there's always going to be one extra past however many players there are, whatever one doesn't get chosen is going to add to this central kind of fertility area that will have something to do with endgame scoring. So you draft this biome card, which is going to determine which area you can develop on your board and also which power that you can use. The actions that you can do are anything from planting like a regular little sprout, the beginning of a tree, to growing that sprout into a kind of small tree, or a small tree into a big tree, which is also very similar to photosynthesis. You can do a combination of both, or you can even ignore having to go to that specific biome. And then there's all these other powers that you can do as well on the card, which will let you add other stuff to the board like lakes and bushes and things like that, which are going to help you to get to fertilize other trees that are adjacent to it. But also it's adding to your the size of your forest, because when the round is done, it plays over 4 seasons, and each season gets a little bit shorter. When all the seasons are each season's done, you're going to get the light, and that light, the sun is going to move around the board, also like photosynthesis, and you're going to get points for your largest forest. At the very, very end of the game, you're going to score based on how fertile each of those biomes are. So they each have these fertility icons on them, one, two, or three, and then you're going to count all your big trees and multiply by however many of those symbols there are. But in addition to that, there's these kind of like bad cards that are, I think they're called aridity, which will replace the fertility one. So it's got this like you're not you're not really like screwing each other over, but the way that you draft the cards, you can kind of limit how fertile you want a particular biome to be, because you're not going to be able to build up all of them on your board, which is not going to happen. So you can kind of manipulate that a little bit. Very cool wooden components, awesome inlaid boards. The scoring track goes around your little bot, your earth thing there, and it really clicks. It makes sense a lot.
Yeah, this one was we like this one. This was really simple. It had a nice look to it. It's got these cute little meeples. We're suckers for meeples. Um,
Yeah, triples.
and even with the abstract strategy part, which I'm not a big fan of, we
Mm.
still enjoyed it. So yeah, this one's definitely on our radar, or not on our radar. We own it. This
So
one's definitely a recommendation from us as well.
did this make your short list? Was it close to the?
This made the short list.
Okay,
Um, Planted still beat out this one and Verdant for
okay.
for the top plant game. It just it didn't make it there. And that again, that's Vagrant Song got just a few plays, but I was so excited about it. Like that kind of plays a part into how it hit the list.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So now it's time for my number one game of 2022. This might be a surprise because I've seen some top 10 games of 2022 and I have not seen one person, one list even mention this game.
Hmm.
And this is Keep the Heroes Out. Now we talked about this for Kickstarter Day. This was designed by Louis Brouet, published by Brouet Games. Plays 1 to 4 players in 40 to 50 minutes and ages 10 and up. And this is a cooperative, asymmetrical, which I don't like, tower defense, which I'm not that big of a fan of. It's not that, I guess I don't dislike tower defense, but still, asymmetrical tower defense style deck building game. And it's got a modular board. So every time you play, you're going to play a different scenario in the scenario book, and you're going to build the board up differently. And you have a bunch of different heroes that you're going to be fighting. and you're playing as the villains. They're basically coming into this dungeon trying to steal your loot, and you gotta keep them out of the main room. If they get the big loot, then you all lose. So it's one of those you go they go, you go they go,
Hmm.
the damage control cooperative and all that. And it's just we love it so much. All these different characters, the artwork is great. Now this picture's not doing it any justice, but the artwork on the cards is great. It pops. It's cute and it's dungeony. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of, and this is one of my honorable mentions, Cora Quest. It's that
Hmm.
got that kind of like that fantasy dungeony artwork that really just pops and oh wow, that looks really cool. And I can't get enough of it. And the meeples, and each one you play with, this one you only get three, but they can walk through walls, and their starting deck has these kinds of cards, whereas this other guy. And I don't play a lot of asymmetrical games because I've found that they don't always work great with two. Because one person's always going to be like, "Oh, well, I can't win this. I don't have the best power in the game." But this one's cooperative.
Right.
Everybody's working together. You're just working towards your strength, and I love it. It's such a great game. Now, I do have one gripe.
Of course.
Naturally, there are cards that you can craft. So there's items that you can get in one room, and then you bring that item to another room, and then you can craft something, and you get one of these cards. And some of the potion cards, I guess all the potion cards are these cards where you're like, oh, look at the next three cards. When you get this card into your hand, look at the next three cards, and if any of them have this symbol, put it in your hand. That's not that great.
Mm.
We find that we pretty much rarely ever get those, and we usually just like spend a card to just get all those off. And once we've gone through the deck once and we have to reshuffle, we're basically done. We don't want any of these secondhand cards that we already
Right.
passed on
Right.
the first time. So we might house rule this. So I know it's tough to be like, oh, this is the number one game of the year for us, but we have to house rule something. We haven't yet, and it's still our number one game of the year.
Okay.
And I think just to make the I want to be able to utilize all the different parts of the game. We might change it to draw three cards, and uh, you know if you don't get to keep one, if none of them have this symbol, you just draw a card anyway and keep that card, and then you can either put these back on top of your deck or in the discard pile because you don't want to take three cards and be like, oh, that's the best card I have, but it doesn't have that one symbol, and now it's going in my discard. Like so we're probably going to house rule that one.
Okay.
But yeah, that's can't wait for you to play this.
I know you were ecstatic about this when I heard
Yeah,
you talk about it last time, and
yeah,
I'm not that surprised that it's your number one. I am surprised, like you said, that you haven't really heard it be on a lot of other
yeah.
lists. But
I
that's just
was I was a little shocked that a whole bunch of lists and nobody mentioned it. I know it just sort of came out towards the end of the year. Maybe
yeah,
a lot of people hadn't gotten to it. I know that the Dice Tower Kickstarter, which is up now, has a promo in one of their promo packages for this game. So like they're
okay,
aware of it or something. I think Mike Delisio might have backed it, but I haven't seen a video yet.
got it.
But I hope it's
Cool.
coming because it's such a good game.
Yeah, I definitely want to try it. All right, my number one is a two-player only version of an older game at this point, a game that I do like a lot, which is Splendor, and this is Splendor Duel. Now, I'm always a little hesitant when they come out with a two-player only version of a game because sometimes I feel like it's just a money grab. uh, but
Yeah,
this game is really, really, really good. Splendor is really basic. It's very introductory. It's very welcoming, and this adds a very, very tense level that you don't often see in the regular game. There are some definite similarities in that you're taking these gem poker chip looking things, and then eventually buying these cards that have some resources on them that are going to let you then count towards your buying new cards. So it's an engine builder in that aspect. But The two-player one here has this board where you're going to set up all the tokens. So you can't just take anything you want. When you take from there, you have to take a row of three, or it has to be an available row of three, and it could be diagonal. You take one, two, or three of them. You still have a limit on how many you can hold. But if there's any gaps in the board, then you can't take from that row of three. So as the board diminishes a little bit, your choices are
Hmm.
very, very limited to the point where you might not be able to take anything. So what do you do? Well, one of the things you can do on your turn is replenish the board before you pick. But if you do that, your opponent is going to get one of these, I think they're called prestige tokens, which are going to let you choose anything from the board later on. So it's this like delicate balance of you don't really want to be the person that replenishes because you're going to give your opponent a little bit of an advantage, but at some point you have no choice, kind of a thing. If you take like two, or no, if you take three of the same gem, you're also going to give your opponent one of those things that they can use. And similar to Splendor, it's got like a gold reserve kind of thing that you can kind of like take a card that you can't afford yet, but in a couple turns, if you have the resources, you can then play it. The biggest difference in this game, besides it's obviously the two-player only, but the cards have like a power on them that let you do different stuff as well. So when you put them into your tableau, you can do that special ability, which can depend. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the one thing I know you probably won't like is one of them is you can take a token from your opponent.
Hmm.
So, it becomes this okay, you're looking at what your opponent has, and you can kind of almost figure out what card they're probably saving up for. So maybe you want to take that token away from them to kind of deter that for at least one more turn. The other cool thing about this is, and Splendor did this with an expansion, but this one is just the way the base game works. There's three ways to win the game. You can either get 20 points straight up, or 10 points within the same color card. So like 10 black, 10 red, etc. Or there's also these like uh, I guess they're nobles, which is in the first game too, but in this one there's only four of them. And then if you collect them, you get other bonuses as well. And you get those by getting these crowns. And if you get 10 crowns, you can also win the game. So two-player only, three ways to end the game. Very strategic back and forth. This was a nail biter. We were playing, and it was we were trying to get this game finished before the kids were like fully awake.
Hmm.
And like Gabriella was like in her chair over here, like eating stuff, and we're like trying to like do this, and then AJ wakes up and like he's watching TV, and it was so like nail bitey and tense. Lauren ended up getting the victory on this one, but man, I cannot wait to get this one back to the table again.
Now, is this one on your 10 by 10 challenge for 2023?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. And that's because when we made the 10 by 10 challenge, we hadn't played this yet.
Hmm.
Because I think it might have been if it wasn't. If it was. Yeah. So that's my number one game of last year, Splendor Duel. That's
All
it.
right. That's it. That's our top. What was that, like 18 games?
Yeah, so we did only have those two
Yeah.
crossovers. Yeah,
Top
yeah.
18 games of 2022.
All right, you want to do
Oh,
some really quick honorable mentions?
yeah. So I already mentioned Cora Quest. That was my number 11 by Dan and
Same.
Cora Hughes.
Hmm.
And also, I had Familiar Tales by Jerry Hawthorne, which
Hmm.
is kind of like the next game after Stuffed Fable. So, like that storytelling kind of
Okay.
kid or family friendly game. So we like that one a lot, but only 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Core Quest was definitely on my short list as well. Transmissions, which I know you have. I think you
Mm.
have. Yeah.
Yep.
That was probably like 15-ish. Dandelions, little area control dice game. And my honorable mention, that is, I guess, a dishonorable mention at this point because we haven't played it yet. And I tried so hard to get it played this past week, and just one thing after another kept happening. And that's Marvel Dice Throne. I'm so
Mm.
sad that I didn't get to try that one out. But you know what? Maybe we'll do, maybe we'll revisit this list at some point and move it around a little bit.
I do want to point out that a bunch of content for Marvel United came out in 2022, but I didn't. I Marvel United was my best game of 2021, even
Mm,
though technically the actual first game came out, I don't know what year. So I didn't include that. Also, Wingspan, the duet, I didn't include that either. We have played the two-player mode, but it kind of seems like it's just really still the same game.
okay.
Yeah, you can't play with the Nectar tokens.
In the two-player, the new version, like the
Right.
new style.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, only if you play that two-player style.
Only if you play that
Oh,
two-player style.
okay, okay,
You
okay,
can
got
take all those cards and add them to the base game and play everything together, but then you can't take all those cards with the Nectar cards, like the cards that have,
it.
and
Right.
play that two-player.
Okay, okay,
I don't know why. I haven't really figured out why, but it's just not something that they want you to do in that version of the game.
got it.
Also, so I bought for Christmas. I got Melissa two Wingspan player mats,
Mm.
two different types. One of them has like the nectar on it, and the other one
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah. That's annoying.
Yeah,
What you gonna do?
I'm gonna get two more.
There you go. Christmas
Lizard
next
Den
year.
on Etsy.
Oh, nice. Good shout out.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Our 10 favorite games from 2022. Let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with any of our picks. I know a lot of other fellow content creators have similar lists that are out already or will be coming out soon. So it's always interesting to see where things lie on that. We will be back with a February podcast episode. Until then, thanks for watching. Eric, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Nope.
See you next time. Bye.